What is going on, Panthers Nation? Carolina Dad here, your host of the Two Growls One Roar podcast, back with a big guest today. We have our man Aaron Dunk on demand, unnecessary bluntness. How's it going, man? Welcome to the show.
What's up, man? Appreciate you having me, dog. Thanks for inviting me. Good to be here. Good to be seen, is what
It's
old
great,
people
man.
always say around me.
That's right. Well, I appreciate it, man. You are big on Panthers Twitter. You're big on Panthers YouTube. So it's cool for me to get connected as I slowly try to grow my channel. So I do appreciate you coming on here, man.
Nah, I see you closing in on 1,000, man. That's the big landmark. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it my my goal to get you over. Let it be my
Do
episode
it.
and my promotion to get it
That's
over
right,
the
man.
top. So
We're gonna
let's
do
do
it.
it.
Awesome, man. Well, I like to start off a little bit differently. So I'm starting to bring on more people, looking at a little bit of their backgrounds. And for me, this intrigued me because I played college football, which I can talk about later. But I don't hear about your time playing college football. So the only, part of this I just got on, so I was on Twitter, I don't know, like in March, April, May of last year. But then I see training camp and I see all your videos coming out of training camp. And then I hear like you showing video. Like I know part of it may be joking, but they've seen your tape and stuff. And I get out like, dude, you played. So
Yeah,
I'm just like, how was your experience? What was recruiting like?
I wasn't like some highly recruited guy. I'm not gonna even lie. I never really embellish my stuff. You can actually, if you look up my college stats, they're not great. I started, but I played
Nice.
I played Division 3. The funny thing is, my school sucked. I probably won in high school. I was on varsity, I guess, as a sophomore, but I didn't play. We went like 7 and
Hmm.
5. But like my whole career, like starting, like my junior and senior year, we won like 3 games out of like 20.
Hmm.
My senior year, we went 0 and 10. Like, so I just didn't have a lot of experience. But like I played running back. And the funny thing is, my first time, actually I played receiver and defensive back going up to that. My first start in high school at running back was my senior year. Just
Wow.
happened midway through the year. I think it was the third, fourth game. I actually broke the
Mhm.
school single game rushing record in my first start.
That's
Two
wild.
297 yards on 31 carries,
Woo.
2 touchdowns. I think I had like 9. I think I might have like 98 all purpose the next week. And after that, it was just pretty like we were trash. So like literally,
Yeah.
people were coming to me after the game saying, well, our whole mission was not let you get da 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 da. So like,
Yeah.
unfortunately, it wasn't enough for me to kind of parlay that into big time schools. I did have a preferred walk on opportunity at a
Mhm.
Division 2 school called Carson Newman in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Some people may be familiar with that. They, if you're familiar with Division 2 football and like Wingate and stuff, they play
Hmm.
Carson Newman a lot. But anyway, and then I ended up decommitting because I did that because I wanted to kind of go through the whole signing day process and take the pictures and stuff. But like once I did it, I
Yep.
was like, do I really want to go to Tennessee where it's cold and stuff? And then like a friend of mine actually went to school at LaGrange College in Georgia. He told me
Hmm.
about it. He said, "Man, just come take a visit. If you like it, do whatever." Woo, woo. And I didn't have a scholarship, so like I was like, sure. Went down there,
Hmm.
loved it. I was gonna have an opportunity to play early. Weather's a lot warmer.
Yeah.
So ended up going there, playing there. Return kicks freshman year, started once or twice. Sophomore year, I started, and junior year, I started, and then senior year, I switched to receiver and started as well. But it was just a long
Nice.
journey. But I was always small, so that's kind of how I
Yeah.
started getting a lot smarter with football. And I wanted to
Yep.
be a student of the game and technique wise, and that's kind of where I got a lot of my football knowledge. But
Hmm.
Division 3, I know you played D3 ball, so
I did.
you know about
Did,
the
man.
struggle.
I did. So kind of not exactly the same story, but pretty similar.
Yeah.
I was a defense, played on the. You think you're small? I'm like 5'7", dude. 5'7", like 180. I was playing defensive back, strong safety, pretty much my whole career. Then senior year, flipped over to running back. Excited to do offense. I think it was like the second or third game of the year, and we were getting recruited.
Yeah.
Schools coming in, that whole fun thing, and tore out my ACL. And so as soon as I tore the ACL, people were gone. They're like, "Nope, not going to talk to you anymore." It was part of it. It was to be expected,
Yeah.
but went through that process and ended up when you speak about Division 2, Catalba. I don't know if that was like one of the schools that maybe y'all would have played.
Same conference.
Yep. So
Mhm.
Catalba, I committed, and did the same thing. So I had like a preferred walk on.
Yeah.
I signed a letter of intent,
Yeah.
and I kid you not, I went back and like got home, and I had a girlfriend, and she was going to be in the area, and we're talking like an hour from where I was. And I
Yeah.
go in and I decommit. But the way I did it was like I emailed the coach and said, I'm not going. Dude, it was I don't know why I did that. I mean, it was just being young, but I got to school the next day. Football coach calls me out of class
Oh,
and just cusses me out and was like, "You
wow.
dumb you," and which like I agree, like looking back, I was a freaking idiot.
Yeah.
So ended up landing at Guilford College, and I only played 2 years. And just like for me, I'm sure you know, man, that grind. Like I know people may want to who've never touched D3 have probably opinions on D3, dude.
Yeah.
It's a monster and a grind, and it truly
Yeah.
is like a full-time commitment that you have to go through. And it was
With
like,
none of the perks.
yeah, no perks. You're just there. You're like, I want to play football.
Yeah, no clout, no, you don't get any of the girls, no
Uh-uh.
fame, nothing. You literally are you spend the same amount of time as the D1 guys do
You
with
do
less resources, and you dedicate that much time to it, and like you don't get anything else
get
in return in
nothing.
terms of all the, I guess, the cushy stuff that comes with playing
Yeah,
college
and
football.
you're bussing around. Like we had to
Yeah,
go up to Virginia, and then
yeah.
like all your Saturdays are taken, then
No bus
Sundays are
rides are
covered.
crazy. No
It's
flights.
wild.
Did y'all
No
take any
flights.
flights?
No.
No,
All
yeah, all
boat
bus.
rides.
We drove to Indianapolis from Georgia. That was
Oh
like
my
15
god.
hours.
Woo. It's wild, man.
Yeah,
It's cool though to hear. So I do think that does like when I hear, your breakdown videos, which we'll talk about, like you can just hear someone that's like been around football,
yeah,
understands it, has watched a ton of film, and you're
yeah.
able to, which I think it's great to bring that side of things to light for people who maybe are just kind of watching, don't really understand what's happening, to see the really like the X's and O's and execution of things as they happen, which is awesome.
Yeah, there's better people at it than me. Like, there's people that know NFL legit stuff, and a lot of the
Yeah,
concepts, like I said, you played, so you know some of the basic concepts. They do cross over. Like football is still football. Now they
it
do some
is.
like San Fran and Kyle Shanahan. They may do some ninja type stuff to get to the basic concepts that we learned. So it's like, oh crap, like there's an
Hmm.
art to it, but like to be able to interpret it, see what's going on. I just thought that like when I created, I mean, I know I don't want to skip too far ahead, but like making those type of videos, I didn't see a ton of people making those types for our
Hmm.
niche as far as the Panthers. So I just wanted to try it out. I mean, I knew I have a level of knowledge. I try to stay in my wheelhouse. I don't get it like quarterback mechanics and stuff like that because that was
No,
never my ministry. But I try to talk about what I know. I lean into my strengths there.
that's great. And yeah, that's a great segue. So, starting your channel, what made you, hey, I'm going to go up and I'm going to create a channel? Was it, I guess the question was it originally all Panthers, or was it just, hey, I'm trying to figure this out? NFL, football?
Yeah, I mean, just going back to playing college football, I love the Panthers, but I like love the game of football as well. Like I feel
Yep.
like our fan base, I mean, it's just fine. There's a lot of people are like that. Once the Panther season is over, they're kind of disinterested in the game in general, or like they just kind of zero
Hmm.
in on the Panthers and whatever goes on around the league, they don't really care. I like the whole game as a whole. Like I love the NFL. College football is okay for me, but I just like the game. So I did start as really a general sports podcast, and
Hmm.
I made a podcast before podcasts were podcasts. Like I was
Yep.
like the equivalent to a SoundCloud rapper. I was on Facebook
There
posting
you go.
podcasts on there, throwing it up on Facebook.
That's
The
right.
first episode, like I got like 100 listeners, and it was just because like literally nobody was doing a podcast. Only podcast I knew of was like Serial back then, but like nobody really knew what it
Hmm.
was. And now that I even have a YouTube channel, people still hit me up and call it a podcast. It's not really a podcast. I just make videos now.
Hmm.
But anyway, I was posting it on Facebook, friends, family, everybody. A lot of people don't always support. They're just kind of nosy
Yep.
to see what you're doing because like in 2017 is when it was. So like there was no people putting really stuff on YouTube. If you had a podcast on YouTube, it was
Hmm.
audio only. Like, it was just
Yep.
audio, 40 minutes of audio with one static logo maybe. So I didn't even put
Hmm.
it on YouTube. We were just putting it on SoundCloud. Me and one of my best friends, he was we went to high school together and played ball there, and he was a groomsman at my wedding. We did it for we probably lasted about 6 episodes. The first episode got 100, second one had about
Nice.
75, third had like 30, and then we had a
Absolutely
guest on for the
chasing.
first time, and it got a little bit more because of the guest kind of promoted it,
Nice.
but like 20, 10, 15 here, and then like
Yeah.
and it wasn't. I mean, it was fun to do, but I just think we had different visions. Like he didn't. I mean, he enjoyed talking ball because we talk ball all the time now to this day still, even though we don't do it together.
Mhm.
But he kind of wanted to go, kind of wanted to fade off. It was a little bit too much commitment. You know, it's kind of hard, man. If you're not all
It
the way in
is.
on it, man, it's whatever. But once he got off, that's I don't know what the date was of that, but it really kind of it made me kind of think because I was kind of like disappointed that it didn't go where I wanted to go. I mean, obviously nothing's overnight, but I kind of
Yeah.
had like, cause I knew I couldn't play football anymore. So like, this is a good outlet for me to talk ball, whatever,
Mhm.
engage on it. And so that's when I pivoted to YouTube. And cause I was like, um, there's proven strategies for people to grow on YouTube. There's an algorithm. There's certain things that you do. If you make your title clickbaity, people will click on it. If you
Yep.
get people to watch after the clickbait, and the longer they watch, the more YouTube will promote your stuff. There's niches of people that are actually looking for this type of stuff. Me posting it on Facebook, it's not going to get outside of my bubble. YouTube will
Yep.
throw my content to randoms that may be
Mhm.
interested in my video, that may not. But the fact that they're throwing it to people and I can learn and grow from there, that attracted me to it. Now, I wasn't really a camera person because
Mhm.
I'm not the most handsome guy in the world, but once you get comfortable on camera, man, it becomes easy and it's all. I think you put a tweet out, and I always dig your motivational tweets because I don't really
Try, man.
I feel that stuff, but I don't really
Yes.
put it out there because I don't want to come off. I don't know. Everybody that follows me aren't creators, so I don't know
Yeah.
how it's gonna hit. It may come off weird, and
Yep.
I have the same type of thoughts. Though, so a lot of times when you put that stuff out, I'm liking it. I'm like, I'm feeling
You're
that
like, "You
stuff,
let's
man. Like it's
go."
talking about the repetition and stuff like that. I saw the tweet that you put out, and just you documenting your journey. So, man, salute to you on that. But like,
Appreciate it.
that's how it was, man. Like being consistent. And then I was covering the whole NFC South on when I first
Wow.
started the channel because I was like, the Panthers are really small. I live here in Georgia, so I hear Atlanta sports radio, so I'm default in the loop there. My commutes, I always listen to it, so I hear about the Falcons. So I was like,
Mhm.
half of the battle is already covered, half the division is already covered. New
Yep.
Orleans, they're my least favorite divisional team, but like they had the most engaging audience on YouTube. So like, I mean, there's probably stale now. They don't watch my content now, but I'll probably say at least 1,000 subscribers of my 15,000 I just see are probably Saints fans. They'll chime in every so
Wow.
often because we used to banter and trash talk. And back then, before Brady, it was hard to get a lot of media coverage for the Bucks and get information to
Mhm.
kind of curate. And so I covered all NFC South as long as I could. But then, like again, like my old partner, my heart wasn't in it, and I was like, man, I'm gonna be interested in the Panthers regardless. Rain, sleet, or snow, I'll be
Mhm.
interested in it. It's not that hard for me to do it because I'm in the loop with everything. I pivoted there probably when I was at about 3 or 4,000 subscribers, I think. And then
Mhm.
man, I just been head down making content for the Panthers ever since then, man, and just experimenting, trying to stay consistent, man. And I'm here now.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, the journey for me when you talk about like the motivational stuff, because
Yeah,
yeah, I think I was in your shoes probably. I mean, probably not the same exact place, but like for me, I was like, oh, I'm going to create a podcast. And then, I put out the tweet that there was like two or three people listening to me.
yeah,
And I went on for probably, when you speak about audio only, I went probably like 7 or 8 months, just
yeah,
straight audio. And I thought, oh, this is the way to do it. I'm not going to have YouTube. It's like, oh, this will work. And my father-in-law, he's like, you got to get on YouTube. You got to
yeah,
have video content. He was like, and for me, I was like, oh, he just turned 60, and
yeah,
that's where he goes to watch whatever he wants to watch. And I was like, oh, I guess there is a market. So
yeah,
yeah, I just started small, but I think when I started putting stuff out, it wasn't YouTube driven. It was more like you said, like a podcast.
mm,
And that's part of the journey that I've had to like learn or relearn or try to adapt is like for me, an episode is like this. I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna record, we'll put it out, and that'll be it. But then I'm like, oh, I've got to make shorter content, or I've got to start getting better with editing and like the way you do with throw it on clips and all that
mm,
stuff. I'm like, oh, there's definitely layers to it. The
yeah,
clickbait, like, because I've even had my father-in-law like, wait, I clicked on that thing because you said this in the title. It's like, hey,
yeah.
it works.
There's a
You
science. There's a science, bro. And like you said, like I said, just like with me when I was doing audio, there's no like
Mhm.
clear path for growth for audio, man. Unfortunately, these
God,
days, I mean, people listen to audio, but like, there's just no clear path for it right now. So I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
you kind of had the same epiphany I did about YouTube.
that's it, man. Well, speaking of your channel and growth, I gotta say, as a fellow content creator, so I remember the blueprint last year, and it was a pipe dream for me, thinking like, oh, maybe one day I'll be on there. You got to live that dream this year with the blueprint series, and hopefully Panthers fans know or have been able to watch that series. That's great. I mean, I don't know what that's like. I know you did like the live stream and reaction,
Yeah.
but want to hear your thoughts about being on there. It sounds like or I'm guessing they didn't approach you, or you didn't know, and it
No.
just got cut.
Nah, and the funny thing is, like, I did a live, like, watch along type of Twitch streamer type of
Hmm.
thing too. I was just right beside it, like, listening, and then, like, I gotta post a clip of me, like, reacting to it just to, like, whatever,
Yeah.
because it's in the whole hour of stream, but, like, I heard it. I was like I was like, "Is that me?" And then I paused it, I ran it back, and I was like, "Yeah, that's me." And then, like, I asked the chat, "Is like, am I tripping? Is this me?"
Hmm.
And they're just like, "No, that's you." And then, like, I guess if I watched it as a premiere, so I guess it was like 40 minutes. So, like,
Yep.
I think it premiered like 7:40. I'm getting
Hmm.
blown up on Twitter. I'm getting blown up my phone. I'm getting texts from my phone. People are telling me after I post my reaction video, people are coming to the comments saying, like, I heard you, I heard you, I heard you, I heard you.
Hmm.
So, like, it was just super cool. I'm like, all I said, I was like joking in the video. I was like, they better give me credit. And then, like, the
For
credits
real.
rolled and it showed my podcast name. I'm
Sure
like,
enough.
all right, man. I screenshotted it. I started sending it to my friends and family and stuff, man. And so it was super cool. I mean, they didn't approach me, but I've
Hmm.
used plenty of times clips from their videos. And shout out
Yes.
to them for not copywriting or putting out copyright strikes on anybody over the years. Cause I've used their content plenty of times, from pressers to whatever, like to be for B-roll, whatever, to make
Hmm.
content. So, like, I wasn't really trying to get paid or anything. It was just kind of cool
Yeah.
that they actually put me in the credits when they heard my name. Because funny thing about it is the Bucks, the first part of Blueprint where they introduced
Hmm.
Canales, a good buddy of mine that started making podcasts when I was kind of doing the whole division.
Hmm.
He covers the Bucks, Mr. Bucks Nation. Shout out to James. His voice was in that one as well.
Wow.
And they didn't give him credit in the credits.
Of
The clip,
course.
but he didn't get credit in the clip. So it was funny that they actually used mine, and I was like, they better put my name in the credits, and they actually did.
Yep. That's
It's
awesome,
cool, man.
man.
And that's what it tells you. Like, you just never know. That let me know you never know who's watching. And it gets hard because I've
Hmm.
kind of been going through it now. Like, it's a dead time with content and, like,
Hmm.
work. And I have a new baby too, so it's like real crazy. But, like, you never know who's watching, and so that kind of thing
Yep.
was real motivational for me, man. Just to hear it and know that, okay, somebody's paying attention. It may not be David Tepper or somebody, but somebody from the social media team definitely knows
Somebody's
who I am.
listening.
Yeah,
Yep.
because they literally had to type out unnecessary bluntness sports talk to give me credit. Even if they just grabbed my clip, the
Yep.
voiceover from somewhere else, they literally had to type the name in. So somebody knows who I am. So that was kind of the motivational part. You just never know who's
Yep.
watching the videos, because I might have 15,000 subscribers, but, like, if my video, like I said, I know some of them are Saints fans that aren't watching my video. So if I have a
Hmm.
video that hits 10, there's a likelihood that somebody that's not commenting or not even subscribed saw my video. So you just kind of
Yep.
never know who's watching, man. So that's kind of the big lesson that I got from there. It was real humbling and real motivating.
It is. I think that validation, man, because I know, like, when I go through it too, there's just small things that happen, whether it's someone that, for me, it's like, oh, someone Panthers related follows you, or,
Yeah,
whatever it is. So I think having that moment,
yeah,
that's awesome, dude. So good.
yeah,
And I guess it's time to talk a little more Panthers in depth and take a look really at the off season, which is it's
yeah,
very broad. If we take a look at the beginning with Dan Morgan, Dave Canales, working our way through free agency, the draft. It's a lot of stuff to compile, and I don't think we can digest it all today. But would love your general thoughts on the off season, everything that's happened, or if there's any highlights that stick out to you so far.
yeah. I think they've kind of been putting it out there that just being on the same page has been big. So it's kind of a breath of fresh air. Like, the funny thing about it is we've been, like, I don't know how to really describe where we are as a fan base, but, like, the moves that they made aren't really anything spectacular. Like, there's really no reason for us to be. I mean, there is, but just because who we are. But, like, they've just made logical, regular football moves, and we've been so far from making logical, regular football moves for so long that we're like, yes,
Let's
yes,
go.
we hired a coach and a GM at the same time. Yes, like, it's like, guys, that happens every day in the NFL.
Does.
like that's just kind of the state of where we are as a franchise since David Tepper has kind of bought the team, man. So it's just kind of refreshing to be there in terms of just that moving in lockstep there. I was a little bit, and I'm never really too like high or low on the coaching hires or GM hires because I don't really know enough about it. And like so many
Yep.
guys come out of nowhere that become good coaches and GMs that like it's hard to really like in terms of like the search. Once they hired them,
Mhm.
yeah, I'll critique that and talk about it. I was a little bit sour on Dan Morgan getting hired just because I thought that this is the first time we've been hiring both the head coach and GM at the same time. So I thought like, let's try to turn the page. We brought in a guy like Brad
Refresh.
Phillips, who's from outside a championship caliber team. I thought maybe we go for a guy from like the Eagles, who we were kind of flirting with a little bit, that has a little bit
Mhm.
different of an eye in terms of that. Like I understand that we want to keep the tradition and what it means to fear the logo and keep pounding, but like it gives us the chance to actually turn the page as a franchise because I think it's time for, and they may do it. I mean, they may change it around, but like some of the things that happen with this team, we have to come into the 21st, whatever century, because like
Mhm.
the all-time leading passer in a single season is still Steve Berline from 1999.
Yep.
And these days in the NFL, people throw for 4,000 yards like it's nothing, you know? So
Mhm.
like we have to kind of come into the modern age of football. And I love the keep pounding mantra. I love Cam that style, but like in terms of just offensive production and moving the ball, I feel like we need to kind of turn the page as a franchise and really think how we do things. But regardless, I'm very bullish on Canales. I love the positivity. Obviously, it has to work, and it's just off-season propaganda at this point. What we're getting from Panthers.com.
Mhm.
And like I said, all the stuff sounds good on paper, but we play football in between the lines. So
Yep.
I'm happy overall with what they've done. I kind of have it in my brain that it's going to be a two-step, 2 year kind of deal with
Mhm.
this thing, at least in terms of just how they structure some of the deals, what they've done as far as making moves. It's going to take us about a year or two under this new regime to kind of get the pieces that they want. So I'll be looking for this year for progress at least. It's really what I want to see is progress from
Mhm.
a lot of guys, but just obviously Bryce Young in general. Um, but also progress just from the development, making good football decisions during the game, managing the game well, making those decisions there, managing the roster. In terms of stuff like that. And so want to see progress from that standpoint. And then the next year, I'll be looking for like, I mean, granted, if we win a division this year, I'm gonna be all for it. I'm never rooting
Yep.
for it to tank. But I just want to temper my expectations after kind of being cut down last year because of all the expectations that we had. But I'm expecting a 2 year thing to kind of be that push that we want
Mhm.
to make to really turn this thing around. And honestly, that whole 7 year building stuff for long term success is BS in my opinion.
Yep.
People go for worst to first every day in this league. It's literally built for that. That's why I
Mhm.
prefer it over college football. So like them selling us those type of dreams, I'm over it. But 2 years seems like a
Mhm.
fair amount of time to really get things going. I like to liken it to the Lions kind of quick turnaround. They were bottom of the barrel as well. A couple years,
Mhm.
the right coach, the right GM, getting the right players, you can make some noise, man. So I'm excited for the progress that I think we've made, and I'm looking for that to carry over into the season.
Like it. I agree with you, man. Like way back when they announced Dan Morgan,
Yeah,
wasn't too excited about it.
yeah,
I've come around, like you said, but I think it's more of like, hey, we're making smart decisions that every NFL team makes during the off season.
yeah,
Like that's what it is. And same with like Dave Canales. Like I did way back when I was trying to like beef up the YouTube content,
yeah,
did like a coaching or preview for each of the coaches we were interviewing. And when I got to Dave Canales, I was like, oh, it'd be great. Maybe there's a way that we get him over here as a coordinator if he was able to get out of his contract.
yeah,
It turned right around. He's our head coach. And I was like,
yeah,
oh, okay, this is the guy.
yeah,
I think for me, when I look at everything, there's been a lot of positivity. Like you said, social's done a great job of spreading that message. I like to, wonder. I don't want us to do bad, that, but it's like, what happens when things get real? And maybe that smile and that energy and the positivity and all those comments, like that's not really going to cut it if you get out here and start losing. And so I'm with you. I think I guess 2 years ish, seeing a step forward this year and really next year taking off is where I hope things go.
yeah. I try to liken him to o- obviously is easy, but like a baby Pete Carroll, just because of that type of energy and positivity. And you're right.
Hmm.
I mean, the whole Sunshine and rainbows is good when it's sunshine and rainbows, but like when the storm cloud comes, how do you get through it? So we'll see. Like I said, that's why things aren't played on paper. We thought we had the
Right.
all-star coaching staff that nothing would get by us. They put the perfect concoction of strategy together, and it didn't work. But now we have an inexperienced guy that nobody has interviewed but us. He may not be
Yep.
the hire that we wanted, but maybe he's the hire we need. That's what I'm hoping for.
Mhm.
But I think he's made of the right
Agree.
stuff. I think he has the right idea. He seems very practical. He may not be
He
like Ben
does.
Johnson level, like Jedi mind trick status with all these formations and stuff, but like he seems very practical. Lean into the strengths. Let's protect Bryce. Let's get the ball out quick because we have an offensive line that may or may not be able to block for longer than 2.7 seconds. Let's do
Mhm.
that. And then let's get receivers that can win quickly. So, like, having answers to the test is how I kind of like to characterize him. Like, and I heard him say that as well. Like, if they want to play man coverage, what do we have that can beat man coverage? If we can't get
Mhm.
open downfield, do we have a running back we could dump the ball off that can get yards after the catch? You bring in a guy like Jonathan Brooks. So it just seems like they're pressing the right buttons, man. And I think, like I said, I have a lot more. I'm still, I mean, Dan has done fine. This whole blueprint has come out with the Burns trade. I mean, I've made some criticism. People got pissed off because whatever.
Yep.
But I have a lot more faith in Canales than I do in Dan Morgan personally. And I
Mhm.
don't have any problem with Dan Morgan, but I feel a lot more bullish, I'll say, on Dave,
Yeah,
just as a coach.
that makes sense. Yeah, one of the things you're talking about, the all-star staff from last
Yeah.
year, I will never forget as, like, coaches were hired during that process, Panthers.com kept putting out the number of years of coaching experience, and I think it got up to, like, 200 plus years,
Yeah.
and I only remember it because I talked about it. I mean, I don't know if you did, but I was like, "Oh, we've got all this experience. It's gonna just
Yeah.
pan out. There's expertise
Yeah.
everywhere at every position. We're gonna push these things together and
Yeah.
win some football." It's wild.
Look, I told people, man, like, and shout out to them. They use my video in their video, but like Panthers.com, bro, until we start winning again, everything they put out is just propaganda, man. You got to take it with a
Mhm.
grain of salt. And if you haven't learned anything, it's propaganda. From last year, if you haven't learned
Yep.
anything, it's propaganda. So just take it with a grain of salt. And even Bill Voth, that used to work with them, he put it out there. He was like, he didn't think the social media, and he used to work in kind of the social side and content side. He said he
Mhm.
didn't think the social team did a good job of managing expectations. He said they kind of fed into everything a little bit too much. And like the reality is, you had a rookie quarterback. No matter who your
Did.
staff was, there's going to be growing pains with a rookie quarterback. It's going to happen more often than not. But he said that on Twitter. Actually, he just didn't think that they
Mhm.
managed things very well in terms of their expectations. And he's like, they play a role in controlling the narrative in terms of
They
just
do.
the fan base and just in general. But obviously we play a role too because we create
Yeah, we
content
do.
as well. So I try to kind of be a little bit more. I call myself objective dunk this
There
off
you go.
season because I'm trying to be as realistic as possible. I'm still a fan, so once the season starts, I'm sure I'll get my emotional side, but I try to balance it with the analytical part as well.
Speaking of off-season moves, want to talk a little bit about and plug some of your content because you're, of course, doing a great job. You got
Appreciate
one video out now with Xavier Leggett, film breakdown. Got to watch it, but for folks that haven't watched it, would love to hear your thoughts on how the Panthers may utilize him this year. What your expectations are for him in this offense.
Yeah, full disclosure, I don't make negative video breakdowns. So, like it may be something I do if I do like a membership or Patreon, and that's something I've been slacking on as far as like making that type of content. But I don't like to
Mhm.
put that type of stuff off out in the masses. Negativity goes super viral. But
It
the
does.
Leggett film, there's stuff to like and there's stuff to dislike. I try to give a view of both. I try to put my concerns at the end as well. But I like to always say like I showed the positives. I talked about the yards after catch that we lacked. We were last. I try to bring the facts with it too. I showed that the Panthers yards per catch, yards after catch per reception, we're bottom of the barrel. They really get that's one of his specialties. Showed him going 70 yards on a dump off pass. The yards per I guess but yards per target or air yards per target,
Mhm.
we're bottom of the barrel there. Showed him going over the top in multiple ways. His concerns, people were like, he can't get off press, whatever. I showed a couple of examples of him getting off press, talked about how raw of a guy he is there, that there's bones up there to improve, just needs better coaching and the fact that And I don't know if you're a South Carolina fan, but if you paid attention, they probably had the worst offensive line in the Carolinas. Some
Terrible.
people will say
They
the
were
Panthers.
bad.
Yeah, some people say the Panthers had a worse offensive line, but I feel like the Gamecocks had the worst offensive
They
line.
were bad.
Yeah, in both Carolinas. So it's kind of hard to like as function when you're a dependent position like a receiver. And Spencer Rattler, God bless his soul,
For real.
he did what he could back there, but like
Mhm.
sometimes there's an extra sense of urgency that you have to play with. So your route running may not be as disciplined because you know my quarterback has less than 2.7 seconds to get the
Yes.
ball out. So like I may cheat on my route a little bit, and that little cheating, that little tail may key that corner. So I just think a little bit more discipline and fine tuning and stuff with him. I think there's some upside there. And the fact that he's coming in as a different role, I think Mingo was kind of set up for failure because he was a developmental receiver, but he was going to
Mhm.
be counted on to be a number two, number one upside caliber receiver in year one. People were hoping that Thielen would be that guy early on, and Mingo would develop and be um, number one by the end of the year. He was set up for failure in that standpoint. I thought we could have drafted somebody else, but Leggett, he's going to be wide receiver, what, 3? Starting off
Mhm.
at, what I'm saying, probably, I mean, at best, wide receiver 2, but I'm expecting 3. It'll be more of just getting in where he fits in. We would love him to develop, but we don't have to have him to be that guy. We have a Deontay, we have an Adam Thielen, and stuff
Mhm.
like that. We're going to lean on the running game. So he's in a better position, I think, to have more success for us just because of what we're depending on him as a rookie won't be as much as we did for a prior receiver like Jonathan Mingo. I think
Yep.
it's no fault of Mingo's own. He was chosen by my older coaching staff. I personally was a Josh Downs guy or a Jaden Reed guy,
Mhm.
where I thought was a better, more route runner, precise type of guy. That I thought Bryce could play a little bit better with that personally.
Mhm.
But I think Mingo he checks a lot of boxes of what we were missing last year. He's young, obviously, as far as a rookie, and he's old for a rookie, but he's young as in like he's not Adam Thielen's age,
Yep.
but he still has some upside, and so I'm excited about his potential.
I am too, man. Yeah, I agree with you. It's wild thinking back to last year's receiving core depth chart, like going into training camp, and you probably did have Mingo. Maybe skill wise, he wasn't, but he was kind of floating towards the top of that list, 2 or 3,
Yeah,
just because we didn't have. You have a Chark, you have a
yeah,
Terrace Marshall Jr. You like
yeah,
what are you gonna do? You kind of forcing him into that.
yeah,
So I do like Xavier. So I'm personally, I kind of like sit in the middle when we talk about Gamecocks. My wife's family, in-laws, they're all diehard, and
uh-uh.
I've been down to some of the games, so I will attest to everything that happened there last year with him and Spencer Rattler being like the two
Yeah,
bright spots of that team. So I am
yeah,
personally too a little bit excited just to see what he can do. I
yeah,
hope his success translate. I mean, we've seen the videos and country boy from South Carolina, and
yeah,
like
man,
it's almost personality wise, like I'm curious because we know Bryce is a little bit quieter. If he's like a bigger personality at training camp, like I just think about all the people that
yeah,
were flooding to Bryce last year,
yeah.
and like, did they go towards him? I don't know, but
I'm going for an autograph, and I think he
for real,
smiles like all the time, dude. Everybody wants to hear the next thing he's gonna say. Like this dude is gonna be box office, man. I
he
hope he
is
puts it together on the field. And like you said, the videos out there. If he doesn't work out, dude, it's not going to be because he didn't put in the work. And so, like,
right.
all you can do is what you can. And if he's doing
Hmm.
all that he can, I'm comfortable with that, win or lose. I mean, regardless, like I said, if he's putting in the work, I'm fine with that. You got to live with the results. Put in the work, live with the results.
Awesome, man. So speaking of other off-season acquisitions and plugging in some more of your content because it's fantastic. Offensive line, I just put together a video looking at position groups with question marks coming into this year.
Yeah,
I have the offensive line on that list. I mean, part of that being Icky, part of it
yeah,
being Austin Corbett.
yeah,
But then I also think about the two new guys with Damian Lewis and Robert Hunt, paying them a ton of money. You've done some film breakdown. Like, should we be concerned? Do we think we've overpaid, or do you think, hey, what they did in Seattle, what they did in Miami should translate, and we should feel pretty comfortable about the interior coming into this year?
yeah. I see the vision of the size, putting those two gigantic human beings in front of on the interior because he's a smaller quarterback. Whatever has been that point has been beaten ad nauseum. But just in general, I and now I'll keep it PG because I don't cuss on my channel, but I call it the trash tax. Some people use
Mm,
another word for the trash, but the trash tax.
yep.
When you don't have the best location, you don't have a lot of success. There's no Patriot way that, or you're not competing for a Super Bowl where people want to take hometown discounts to come win a ring.
Mhm.
You got to overpay a little bit. There's a little bit of a premium that you have to pay to be able to get these type of things. You know what I'm saying? And so I understand it, and I think it made a big statement the fact that the first move they made was getting Robert Hunt, and that was just like off the
Mhm.
top rope out of nowhere. I don't think anybody saw
Was.
that coming because
Nope.
the Panthers never spent $100 million on
Uh-uh.
anybody in the open market. You know, like we gave DJ Moore $100 million contract. I think when he signed, it was 20 million a year. It might have been 100
Mhm.
million in total value, but like in Panthers. I don't remember in Panthers history us just dropping that kind of cash. I mean, granted, he's not going to see all that guaranteed, but just seeing that dollar mark associated with the Panthers on those tweets,
Yep.
it was out of nowhere. And
It
so I was
was.
just like, okay, these guys are serious about improving this offensive line, letting us know that what happened last year just wasn't acceptable. And I respect that.
Mhm.
Now, as far as their performance and how it translates, that's to be seen. And I kind of
Mhm.
pointed it out in my video. Um, Robert Hunt, granted, there's money, there's a certain amount of money that can go around. Miami has
Mhm.
to pay. They pay Waddle. They still got to pay Tua. They had to let Christian Wilkins walk. He ended up getting a ridiculous contract from the Raiders, and they let Hunt walk as well. Now, a lot of these people think, and it's not expendable, but some people think a lot of these offensive linemen are expendable depending on just on philosophies. Like the 49ers, they do have some good offensive linemen, but they coach around a lot of those deficiencies. They use play action, they move the pocket,
Mhm.
they run the ball using angles more so than just mauling guys out of the way. And they create advantages different ways, and they compensate for quarterback. They compensate for the offensive line as well if there's some deficiencies there. Because if you're play action and the quarterback's running away, it's hard for defensive linemen to rush there. And if you're running the ball a lot, they're not going to get upfield as fast. And if, like our philosophy, if you're getting the ball out in 2.7 seconds or less, you don't have to be that good of a blocker to be able to block
Yep.
for 2.7 seconds. You know, like there's certain things you can do to kind of just survive, for lack of better words, until you get to that 2.7 mark. And two was time to throw was 2.3, the fastest gun in the league.
Mm.
So Robert Hunt didn't give up that many pressures because if you look at the stat, they call it true pass set, is when it's not a
Mhm.
screen and not play action. He didn't have that many of them because Miami did a good job of protecting their offensive line where they aren't in a position where they're just doing straight dropbacks. And
Smart.
when they do, it's all play action and two is getting the ball out fast. So my only concern is like, hey, were you a system lineman coming from
Mhm.
Miami and they felt you were expendable, which is why they didn't bring you in? But these are the moves that we have to make because like we can't roll out Chandler Zavala, no offense, out there again. We couldn't have that revolving door of 7 guards like we did last year. We needed to get something solid in. Damian Lewis has experience with them as well. He's a little bit more inconsistency in terms
Mhm.
of that, but I'm feel pretty decent about him, and I think just the type of run blocker they both are, coupled
Mhm.
with Icky, I think we'll be fine. Now, Icky is my question mark, just like you. I feel pretty good about Corbett overall, just
Mhm.
because when he was healthy, health is my concern, and I won't argue
Yep.
with anybody about that. But as far as ability, when he was healthy, granted it's a low bar, he was our best lineman by far
He was.
in the years he's been here. So he's a little bit smaller and for a guy compared to everybody else around him.
Mhm.
But I have faith in him. He's smart. He's experienced. He's played left and right guard before. I'm okay with Austin Corbett in terms of ability. It's just the health is my concern. But
Yep.
everything's gonna rest on their offensive line, and you're right to have a question mark by it. It's not misguided to have that question, and I'm with you.
Like it, man. So looking at year 2, I feel like we could spend, all of our time creating Bryce Young content, but I like
I
to
try
talk
to
about
avoid it.
other
I
people.
avoid it, man, like the plague. I just
For
really avoid
real.
it.
It's just I'm with you. I'm like, I don't really want to go down that rabbit hole. So, anyways, we're gonna go down the rabbit hole for a little
Yeah.
bit. Talking about year 2 for Bryce. So I just did a look back, and it's kind of a small lens because I was looking at number 1 overall picks actually went back to, I think, 2009. I think that was Matthew Stafford's year up to now. So just number one overall. So it's not first round. Just looking at year one to year two, I didn't see anything that really stood out. I mean, looking at situation wise, I think Trevor Lawrence to me is probably the closest model. But I
Yeah.
think what I saw is like there's really no true like blueprint of like, oh, you did this in year one, year two is going to be this. I think the situation is going to be better. So that's why I like to lean towards Trevor when I think about Bryce. But looking at year two for Bryce Young, and I know I've kind of thrown out random thoughts on like, hey, I'd love to him to hit these benchmarks when you talk about 4,000 yards passing. Like
Yeah.
my bar's a little bit lower, but I would love to know like year two, what are you thinking we're going to see out of him, or what are your expectations?
Yeah. And you mentioned Trevor. I think Jared Goff is probably the other one that people use. Like,
Hmm.
you had a terrible coach. Next year, you got a young offensive genius, and McVay kind of came out of nowhere too. He ended up being arguably one of the best coaches of all time, like in a short period. But yeah, I mean, I think situation matters. I think coaching matters, and I think we learned that the hard way. It's not
Yep.
about who's coaching; it's about, I guess, it matters who's coaching, but it also matters who's coaching. Like
Yep.
it's you need to have everybody on the same page. You need to have people that are going to play to their player strength, not necessarily just having a system and making square peg go to round hole type thing. So I think leaning more into Bryce's strength is going to breed m- more success. And we talked about improvement earlier. The bar is like the floor, bro. Like,
It is.
like things. And people are talking about drafting quarterbacks next year, and I think next year's quarterback class is fairly weak. I
It
think if
is.
Bryce shows literally any level of improvement, like, it doesn't get much worse than 5.5 yards per pass attempt. I think I looked it up. Like, only I
Yep.
think nobody's had a lower yards per pass attempt over five if they had at least 500 attempts. So, like, for him to have another historically bad season with what we've done, yeah, of course, yeah, you're gonna have some concerns. But it's just hard for me to imagine him being that bad again. How much better is he? I don't know. But will he be that bad? It's hard for me to see it just because of the coaches, what type of players we put around him. We don't even have to be like great. Getting to
Mhm.
average will get us into a brand of football that I think Panthers fans can at least be proud of and be hopeful for, because too many times last year there were some close games that we could have easily had for, I mean, 3 or 4, maybe more wins. The Falcons, excuse me, the Vikings game kind of comes to mind off the top of my head, of just like us completely pissing that one away after
It
having like
was.
a pick six, and like all kind of stuff that the numbers
Mhm.
point to. Like, if you do this in a game, the likelihood of you winning is
You
like
should win.
80%. We find a way to lose, and like
Yep.
it's just, I think we're close, but not making mistakes, like the little stuff. Like, that's what Canales talks about, getting the football right. And that's even with Bryce, like getting in and out of the right play, getting basic stuff on the right thing. We heard Icky in preseason giving up sacks because he heard the wrong call because two calls sound the same. Like, getting rid of
Mhm.
all the simple BS. Let's actually see what we have in Bryce Young. Like, this is what it should be. Like, we need to get to a point where it's just average, plain, and clean. Then let's evaluate Bryce Young. Last year was almost a
Yep.
throwaway, unfortunately. Like, this is the really real evaluation year. So, like, what
Mhm.
numbers? I don't know. I don't think he cracks the 4,000-yard mark. That may not be exciting to Panthers fans. I don't think we're gonna run. I don't think we're gonna pass the ball that much to be in that type of a realm for that. But some of the numbers that Vegas is putting out for him, man, I think he smashes those. Like, I think 18 touchdowns was the number there. I
Yeah.
think I give him mid 20s. And I would be super satisfied with that. And I mean, just to give out stats, 11, 12 interceptions, maybe
Mhm.
be fine, I guess, per se. I don't know. But just want to see him look comfortable, look like we have a passing offense that fits him. Let's be efficient, manage the game. Like, don't try to feel like you're doing everything. Manage it. And when you need to be clutch and be special, be special. We've seen him be clutch in the fourth quarter at times where we almost beat the Packers, but we ran out of time. We saw the last couple of game-winning drives when the games we actually did win. So we saw him late in games manage that and be smart and move the ball, even if it wasn't pretty. But let's let him be a point guard. He doesn't have to carry the team. Let's distribute the ball, run the offense.
Mhm.
When we need you 3, 4 times to create like Bryce, do that, and we'll be
Yep.
fine. And I think that's what they're trying to do. And like I said, any sort of progress, and I think they're going to be like, okay, Bryce is our guy going forward. But like, if he has another bad year, of course, yeah, then you're gonna have some conversations. It's just not a universe I see him being that bad. But I've
Same.
been wrong before, like last year with his all-star coaching staff. So I'm
Got
just a
that.
content creator.
There you go. I'm with you, man. I think, looking out, I just for the haters' sake, so to speak, like I
Yeah,
really hope he does prove people like, hey, I am a true NFL quarterback. I can't play the position. But I'm with you. I think if things don't go as well and we don't even see, like you said, average play, there's just going to be a lot of question marks.
yeah,
And I hope we don't get there. I do think, to your point, last year's throwaway, I think this year is the first year to really evaluate him. And then from there, we kind of move out, and hopefully we've got our franchise quarterback, which everyone, I would think, the majority seem to think, but I don't know. Hopefully.
and they may not feel that way, but like when you're talking about the haters, the unfortunate part is the call is coming from inside the house. A lot of times,
Yeah.
the national media they don't really care about us, so they'll diss Bryce or whoever, call it, say we suck, and keep it moving. But like a lot of the
Hmm.
hate comes internally, and I hate it. So many people want to be right more than having a good football team, and it's just
I do.
we've kind of lost our way. We're so far away from winning that people are trying to get personal wins by saying they're right or wrong about a player versus actually seeing them win on the field. And
Yep.
we just need to win bad, man. I like even
I
if
agree.
Bryce struggles, but we're winning the game because we're running the ball so much, I would be fine with that type of performance. He'll do his thing every so often, but if we're winning games, I think that level of success is going to help morality so much that like it's hard not like that type of positivity, sitting with your arms folded if the team is winning, even if we only go six,
Hmm.
7 games with wins and we're competitive in a lot more. It's hard to be mad, man. Like it's hard to be mad during that situation if you're a real fan. And I hate to say the real
It
fan
is.
and fake fan thing, but like it's if you're really a fan, it's something inside you that's just kind of like you can't
Hmm.
help but get happy about winning games. So
Yep.
hopefully he'll have some success. We'll unify the fan base and we'll win a bunch of football games. But I could
Right.
be being naive, but
I'm with you, man. I can't stand the like internal, you know, hate that comes up. And to your point,
yeah,
it's a lot of people that want to be right. And so, and it's people just, they throw out outlandish stuff. And like, I finally had to walk away from a lot of it. I'm like,
dude,
oh, well, they just want to engage and
yeah,
that's what they want. I'm like, nope, sorry. I'm going to be, hopefully a notch above this and
I
move
stay
on.
away. I've not made a ton of Bryce content this off season. And some people make it all the time just because like how much more conversation can you have about it until we start seeing stuff on
Right.
the field? There's not a lot to be said, and I'll leave it alone. I'll probably go full force once the season starts because shoot,
Hmm.
I'm still a content creator and I monetize and I get ads and Bryce gets clicks. For better or worse, Bryce gets clicks. I learned that with Baker Mayfield. I didn't realize Baker Mayfield had so many haters until he became the quarterback. I just made an innocent video and I actually, it was a training camp clip, and it went like he threw a pick on his first pass at Panthers
Uh-huh.
practice. Me innocently throwing it up because I just had no idea. It went like I think I got 10 million views on Twitter. Bleacher Report
Wow.
stole it and put it out there. Overtime stole it, tried to put their logo on it. That's when I started
Wow.
watermarking as well. But like I was
Smart.
like, people really hate Baker Mayfield. Like Jesus Christ. Like
Yeah.
the next day he had a good day, and I posted clips. Didn't do anything.
Nothing.
And like
Nobody wants
yeah,
to see it.
and so like there's
So
an
wow.
agenda against certain players, man. And so like as content creators, you don't want to be clickbaity. You don't want to just kind of like be trying to like engagement farming, but like if there's conversations to be had, yeah, I'm gonna post about Bryce. People want to hear about
Hmm.
Bryce. People want to talk about Bryce. I'm not gonna beat a dead horse and just talk about BS in every little remark or comment that comes out. But like,
Hmm.
I mean, you're getting paid for the advertisement. So
That's
that's what
right.
people want to hear. You got to get the people what they want.
That's it, man. Speaking of the watermark, I think that was the first training camp that I went to in
Yeah.
Spartanburg. And I think I just started following you because I remember you interacting with people. Like I didn't know who you were, but then say, oh,
Yeah.
they take it and they're reposting it. They don't have a trademark on it. I
Yeah.
remember all that
I was
coming to life. Be
I
so
was
mad.
pissed. It's tough
So
because
mad.
like the stuff happens fast, and there weren't
It
a lot of people
does.
making clips, and then like people tweet about it, and then everybody like knows like Dunk is that guy that guy he's recording. I'm out
Mhm.
there in camp like a bootleg movie. I'm like recording
Keeping it
like
close.
this. And like everybody's waiting on me to see if I got the clip. And it's fun being that guy. Everybody's like depending on me and counting on me, but like it's a
Mhm.
lot of pressure and like you want to do the watermark thing, but like people get mad about that part. I'm like, nah, man, people are gonna jack my clips, man. It's ruthless out here on the
Yeah,
internet.
it
So if you don't
is,
watermark,
man.
people are just gonna take it and not even think twice. They'll block you for calling them out. So
Mhm. The aggregators, it's crazy. Speaking of the Baker Mayfield hate, which he does get a lot. Dude, I don't know, like, what days you were at camp when he was here on the Panthers. I
yeah.
remember him when we went, like, starting at the very end of the line, just going through, signing almost everyone's autograph or trying to
Yeah.
interact. People just hate. My
He's the
God,
people's champ, bro. Like
it really
Baker's
is.
probably he's that teammate that a lot of people. I mean, he probably rubs some people the wrong way as well on this team, but like
Yep.
people like Baker because of who he is. He's fiery. He's competitive. He's gonna talk a little bit of trash. He's undersized. He's super competitive, man. But like he's real cool and down to earth. He's very well thought out person in terms of how he talks to the media and stuff. Now he's been through the ringer, so he understands kind of the game now and stuff like that. And he was like the fans loved him at practice, and he
Mhm.
showed love back to the fans. So
He
like
did.
a lot of the stuff is just internet stuff. Most of the time, I learned that like we're talking about the Bryce hate. If you go to games and tailgate, most of the people they love Bryce. They're
Mhm.
rooting for him. They want him to be that guy. They're more concerned about getting him right and then them being right.
Mhm.
So
Yep. All tied to it. So speaking of training camp, I know you were on your live stream last night talking about the Jets joint practice, the other practices working your way back. Curious to see what are your plans for training camp? Like, what days are you thinking? Or I think you said you're probably not going to make it to all of them, but when
yeah,
you'll be down?
yeah. I had a life event occur, so I have a little one now, so I can't be away because last year, I mean,
That's
I live in
big.
Georgia.
I know you briefly brought that, but congrats, man. That's
Yeah,
huge. How
appreciate
old?
it, man. 6 months.
6 months. Nice. We've got 17 months, and then
Okay,
my nephew that we've adopted, he's 14. So
okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
I know that. I know exactly what you're going through, man.
dude, it's a grind, man. But I just can't be away. There's we're putting her in daycare, so the first day of daycare, I definitely got to be back there, and I'll be going back and forth. And I did that last year. It just sucks that
Mhm.
it's in Charlotte now instead of South Carolina. My family is in that Greenville Spartanburg area, but I'll be
Same.
going to. I definitely missed the first week because I'll be on vacation. That was poor planning by me. Um, but I'll try to be there. I mean, at 15, I'll probably be at least double digits. I'm aiming to be at least 10. I'll be at FanFest this year. I know a lot of people. I never go to FanFest, but since it's
Yeah,
in South Carolina, I'll be there and not at Back Together Saturday. That's in Charlotte. So
that's awesome, man.
I'll be there, and then I'll be at a good amount. I'm definitely at the joint practice for sure. But I tell everybody as a content creator, bro, if you can make it, go and get your
Yep,
content, create some content, man. It's like the Super Bowl for content creators. There's a lot of
really
people that
is.
aren't even remotely close that can make it. So they are like on edge trying to hear the latest from us and they depend on us and they care
Mhm.
about what we have to say. And it's obviously with like ad revenue is a good time there as well. That's why I call it the Super Bowl because
It
like
is.
between draft season and that peak, like nothing touches
Mhm.
July and August in terms of engagement, views, and stuff for me compared to that. And after that first, I think it might have been I went the year before, but that Baker year, once
Mhm.
I looked at like my 2020, I guess 2022 analytics, and there's this curve, like January is in, uh, uh April, whatever is up here, and then the summertime dulls down, but then like July, August,
Shoots up.
like preseason training camp is off the charts, and like I don't even touch anywhere close to those type of numbers the rest of the year. So like doing what I have to do to make sure I'm there in the building and in attendance
Smart.
there is what I try to do. And I tell all the content creators the same thing. I'm like, man, get there, even if you can only
Mhm.
make one or two. Get there, get you some content there, man. It'll go a long, long way. Putting your eyes on the team instead of having to go by the beat writers because there's only so much they can say because they have certain brand. I don't
Kinda
call it
protected.
yeah, they're employed by people, and no fault to them.
Mhm.
That's what they have to do, and they have to protect their relationship with the team. Us content
Mhm.
creators,
Say
we don't
whatever
have
we want.
we have no affiliation. We can tell it like it is. Tell it like you see it.
Yep.
And so, people appreciate that. So there's a lot of engagement and content to be had from that time. So I always encourage every creator I talk to that makes Panthers content go.
Smart. I'm with you. I'm bummed. So we had family in Spartanburg. We were
Mhm.
like, I mean, it was my in-laws, so we got to
Yeah,
take the baby, the family,
yeah.
5 minutes away from Wofford, and I'm like,
Oh
dang
man,
it.
yeah,
So we're still gonna go. We're gonna stay there and then drive up to Charlotte. I think it's an hour ish, but I think we're looking at August, early August. So
okay,
like our oldest, he starts back school in early August,
yeah,
really. So we're gonna try to go. I'm gonna try to knock out as many as I can with like, being able to take off time from work. But speaking of like, being there, I know a lot of what happens just from what I saw last year. And I did it a few days, and you're right, like engagement wise, I wasn't on YouTube, but on Twitter,
yeah.
just tweeting out what was happening with the plays. It's like insane how many people just like follow, like, engage with all that. So are
All
you
you
going to
gotta
be
do
doing it?
is I
Yeah.
tell people, post a video from where you're sitting in a view and just let people
Yep.
know I'm checking in, getting ready for whoop whoop whoop, and
Yep.
then live tweet. Like I just like it's a game day, just live tweet practice, and then
Smart.
you're good. Like you get your I mean, now that they're paying blue checks, like you get a little bit of money there on the side with Twitter, and then you can double back with the YouTube content and double dip
It's
and
true.
like talk about it. You tweet about it, turn around and talk about it. So
Hmm.
I love that time of year, man.
It's awesome. So we'll I know we're coming up on an hour almost. So,
Yeah.
and we've talked about a lot, and I really appreciate it, man. So I think closing it out, just wanted to get your general. I use predictions. Probably would say outlook, and I know we've kind of hit on it. If you want to give a prediction or a guesstimate, fine with that. But really wanted to hear what you think about heading into the season about what we're going to see.
Yeah, I predict some progress. Like I said, if we want to use wins, I think 6 or 7 wins would be a successful season. 6 or 7 wins,
Yep.
establishing Bryce Young, making progress, and being our franchise quarterback, seeing some growth from Ike Ekwonu and our rookie, maybe a little bit with Xavier Leggett. Hopefully, our defense isn't as terrible as I'm scared it could be. Or they at least competitive to the point that like we're not trying to be in shootouts because I don't think that's the recipe for us.
Hmm.
Hopefully, we play a brand of complementary football that allows us to be competitive, allows us to be able to run the ball and have that as an equation, take some pressure off Bryce in that way. And I think 6 or 7 wins with being competitive in another 3 or 4 would be golden. We have some tough teams on
We do.
that back end of the schedule, man. So like we're gonna find out a lot. But I think building some early momentum and confidence, at least they don't have to be wins in terms of momentum. Because I know we have the Bengals looming around early on in the season as well. And last time we played them, it was ugly. But
Hmm.
just like being competitive and building some confidence, man, and getting that feeling of putting together wins, like multiple wins. It doesn't have to be like 5-2 or whatever, but like getting over 3 wins, which lets us pass the benchmark for last year, would be like, whew, like, okay, we're
Yes.
there. We're not the worst we're not as bad as we were last year. Let's see what we can do with this house money and continue to build on that, man. I want to just see progress because, like I said, the next year of this regime is where I'm really looking for. So you just want to kind of lay that foundation and improve. And I think I hate to say it, but 7-10 would be ideal. I mean, I wouldn't be mad at it. I
Hmm.
wouldn't say ideal. I wouldn't be mad at it. We mess around and win a division, you'll see a different side of me on YouTube because I will be head over heels
That's right.
jumping for joy. So that's about where I'm at. 6 or 7, I wouldn't be mad at if things go how I expect or would expect them to go in terms of that 6. I would call it falling with style, like Buzz Lightyear said
Hmm.
on Toy Story. Not flying, falling with style. You know.
There you go. Awesome, man. I'm with you. I do think that 6 to 7. I always like to use like fan side of things versus like creator side.
Yeah.
Creator side's a little more harsh. Fan
Yeah.
side of me wants like 9 or 10, like you said. But I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I think 6 or 7. Like, let's not get too greedy. That would be a successful year
Yeah.
for the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on here. I will let you plug whatever content or socials you want to plug and let people know where they can find you.
I'll plug you first, man. Y'all check out Two Growls, One Roar. This guy's been putting in super consistent content. And he's a good follow on Twitter. Like I said, he puts out the motivational quotes. If you were in the creative space as well. just to kind of talking about his thoughts and his journey. And his documenting is pretty dope to see it happen and stuff too. Because like I remember I think about some of the same stuff. I've been in the same position, so like seeing
Mhm.
that is cool. So I'll plug you, but also plug my channel at UB Sports Talk, youtube.com/, at UB Sports Talk. You can find YouTube channels that way now. Thank goodness. Follow me on Twitter at Dunk On Demand. I'm a pretty decent follow during the season. I try to keep it loose. You may see some hot takes in terms of food. I also tweet about WNBA and sports betting as well, but a lot of it, most of the time, is about football and the Panthers. But the grind don't stop. We're almost at training camp mode, man. So getting ready for the Super Bowl for myself. So I'm kind of getting in that mode, man. So I appreciate you having me on.
You got it, man. Hey, and I do have to say, I love the WNBA tweets because I'm not, big. I know Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark. Just see you like every night
Yeah.
tweeting, and dude, I love it, man. It keeps me. I'm
Sports
like,
betting,
oh, this is what's happening.
sports betting is the difference maker. And they like
Yes,
and the women's a little bit, it's a lot less teams. So I literally can pay attention to every team. It's 12 teams. It's easy. It's like
yeah,
12 teams, 12
small.
players, only like 7 play per team anyway. There's a lot of data out there for sports betting. It's so much easier to make money and be profitable there. Might as well follow it. I also like basketball. I've been a women's basketball kind of aficionado for a good little minute anyway. We just kind of paint up at our college games at D3 because it was so small. It's like a
Mhm.
YMCA stadium. So like when I yelled, you could always hear me. So I used to love going to those games, like getting drunk and good in
Yep.
those games. So that's kind of how I got into it before. But I like women's basketball too. And like I said, with sports betting, it makes anything interesting. So
So
it's all fun. I know everybody doesn't like my WNBA tweets, but um,
I appreciate it. Cool, man. I appreciate you coming on the show. Y'all be sure to give him a follow.